Okay, so in our conversation about the Lewis model, we've worked on how to draw the Lewis model for specific individual atoms. We've learned about how to do it for molecules, but now I want to show us how to do the Lewis model for complex molecules. Because it turns out often in the world around us, things aren't super simple like water. Water is just one of the more simple molecules. So I'm going to show us how to draw this for a model for a molecule like acetylene. So if we go through the steps, the first one is to identify the elements involved in bonding. So we have carbon and hydrogen. Carbon has 4 valence electrons, hydrogen has 1. Looking at the periodic table, carbon wants to have 8 like neon, and hydrogen wants to have 2 like helium. Okay, now where this gets tricky is trying to find the central atom. I'm just going to tell you carbon goes in the center, and once you've done this long enough, you begin to get a feel for how this works. But the usual rule of which one there's least of doesn't work because we've got the same number of carbon atoms as we have hydrogen atoms. But that's mostly just because carbon's a little bit of a weird exception here. So we're going to start by drawing our carbons. So 1 carbon, 2 carbon, red carbon, blue carbon. I'm just, Dr. Seuss. Okay, so it's got 4 valence electrons, so we're going to go ahead and draw that like we're supposed to, 1 on each side. And then we're going to go ahead and draw our hydrogens. Just changing the color so that we don't get lost here, so we can remember what's what. So we've got our hydrogens over here. We're letting our carbons be the central atom, so I put them in the center, and I'm putting my hydrogens over here. Like I mentioned earlier, it doesn't really matter which side we start on for drawing these valence electrons. So I'm just going to put them on whichever side's closest to the central atoms because it makes it easier for me later on. Okay, so then the next step is drawing bonds, anywhere where there should be a bond. Okay, so we know hydrogen wants to have 2 valence electrons, so it'll share a valence electron with carbon. Carbon will share one with it. So now both of our hydrogen atoms are happy. Hydrogen has a full duet. A duet means that it's got its 2 valence electrons like it wants, so it can be like helium. However, carbon isn't happy because carbon wants a full octet. It wants to have 8 valence electrons. Right now it only has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So obviously carbon's going to share one with the other carbon. Now we have 6 valence electrons, but we still don't have 8. So it turns out that in addition to doing these sorts of bonds, we can also form other types of bonds. We can form double bonds, which is when we have 2 bonds between 2 atoms, or we can form triple bonds, which is when we have 3 bonds between atoms. So if we form a triple bond, then carbon will have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It'll have a full valence electron show. It'll have a full octet. So carbons will be happy. Now, this isn't actually the final way of drawing it just because it looks a little bit messy and scientists like everything to be nice and neat. So the final way we draw this is actually like this. Carbon, carbon, hydrogen, hydrogen. And then whenever we're drawing these triple bonds, we're actually supposed to draw them side by side just because it looks neater that way, and scientists like things to be neat. They want to know exactly what's going on. So we draw a triple bond like that, and we have our 1 bond to hydrogen and our 1 bond to hydrogen. And this is what acetylene looks like. And this is about the most complex molecule you'll be working with in this level of chemistry. So I hope that helps. I just want to remind you that molecules can form bonds like this, carbon and hydrogen. It can form double bonds if it only had like 2 here, or it can form triple bonds like this. And you're actually going to have some experience getting to do this yourself. So I hope this helps. If you guys need any further instruction on how to draw molecules using the Lewis model, just email me and I'll make another one to help you.